The attic smelled of old wood and forgotten time. Dust motes danced in the single beam of light that cut through the gloom.
I pushed aside a stack of yellowed newspapers, their headlines screaming about events long past. I was here to clear out my father's house, a duty I had dreaded for weeks. It wasn't just a house, it was a museum of a life I barely understood.
Every object held a story, but the storyteller was gone now.
I ran a hand over a dusty trunk, the leather cracked and dry. This was the final chapter of a book I had stopped reading long ago. My father, a man of few words and even fewer smiles, was now just a collection of belongings. Among a pile of old photo albums and holiday decorations, I saw it. A small, wooden box, no bigger than a shoebox. It was plain, unadorned, the kind of thing you might overlook a dozen times, but something drew me to it.
He lifted the lid, and inside, nestled on a bed of faded velvet, was a single envelope. His name was written on the front in elegant, flowing script, his mother's handwriting, a sight he hadn't seen in 30 years.
Beneath my name, another line was written, smaller and more delicate. For my Daniel. To be opened when you're ready. The words seemed to echo in the quiet attic. Was I ready? I wasn't sure.
He held the letter in his hands, the paper fragile and cool to the touch, heavier than it should be. Daniel's mother was a memory, a fading photograph in his mind. He remembered her laughter, the smell of cinnamon and vanilla on her apron. Her death had been a sudden storm that tore through their small family.
I was just a boy, too young to understand the permanence of goodbye. I only knew that the light in our home had gone out, and a quiet, unyielding darkness had taken its place.
After she was gone, the silence in the house grew. His father, never talkative, retreated even further into himself.
I grew up in the shadow of that silence, learning to interpret the set of my father's jaw, the slump of his shoulders. Love, I assumed, was not something my father was capable of giving.
Daniel went off to college, started a career, built a life of his own. The phone calls were brief, formal.
How are you? I'm fine. Is everything okay? Yeah.
They were strangers who shared a last name. Now, standing in the attic, holding a letter from the one person who had loved him without reservation, the years of anger and hurt felt heavy. This letter, hidden away for 3 decades, suggested a story he did not know.
With trembling fingers, I broke the wax seal and unfolded the letter. Her words, written in blue ink, filled the page. As I read, her voice filled the silence of the attic.
My dearest Daniel, if you are reading this, it means I am gone, and enough time has passed for you to find your way here. I imagine you are a man now, strong and kind. I hope you are happy. I am writing this from the sunroom, watching you play in the yard, chasing butterflies with a net far too big for you. Your laughter is the most beautiful sound in the world.
She wrote about small forgotten moments, building a rocket ship out of cardboard, falling asleep to bedtime stories. Reading her words was like finding a hidden room in a familiar house.
I want you to remember the joy, my love. Life will bring you pain, but I hope you always hold on to the light. Remember the feel of the sun on your face, the taste of wild strawberries we picked by the creek. Remember that you were and always will be a boy full of wonder. That is the part of you I hope never changes. It is the part of you that is most precious. It is the part of you that is pure magic.
Daniel sat on the dusty floor, the letter resting in his lap. He had to stop reading for a moment, the words blurring through tears.
I took a deep breath and continued to read.
I'm writing this for another reason, Daniel. I need to tell you about your father. He is a quiet man. His love is not a loud song, but a quiet, steady rhythm. He may not say the words you need to hear. He may not know how. His own father was a hard man, from a time when feelings were seen as a weakness.
She explained that his father's love was in his actions, not his words.
He watches you when you don't know he's looking. He holds his pride for you deep inside like a precious secret. He is afraid that if he lets it out, he will somehow break. My greatest wish, my son, is that you will find a way to see him, not as the silent man he appears to be, but as the man I know he is, the man who loves you more than he knows how to show. Do not let the silence between you grow into a canyon. Reach across it. Forgive him for the words he cannot find. His heart is good, Daniel. It is just a little lost without me to guide it. That is my last wish for you both.
The letter changed everything. For the first time, I could see the past clearly.
The silence that had defined his father was not indifference, but fear, and an inability to express love.
I thought back to all the missed opportunities, the moments I had interpreted as rejection. I remember my high school graduation. My father was there, standing at the back of the crowd, his face unreadable. But now, I wonder what was really behind those eyes. Was it pride? Was it a deep, unspoken love?
The memory shifted from cold distance to misunderstood emotion.
There were other moments too, like the time my first car broke down, and my father drove 2 hours in the middle of the night to fix it.
You should check the oil more often.
At the time, I heard only criticism. Now I hear concern. The gruff words were a shield, hiding a softer, more vulnerable heart. The actions were the language of his love.
Daniel realized he had spent his life waiting for a confession of love his father was incapable of giving. He had been looking for a grand gesture, when the love was in the small, everyday acts of service. He had been so focused on what was missing that he had failed to see what was there all along. Fueled by this new understanding, Daniel searched the attic with a different purpose.
I opened another box, this one filled with my father's personal effects. Tucked beneath old work shirts, I found a scrapbook. It was not like my mother's, filled with smiling photos. This one was different.
The scrapbook was thick, its pages filled with newspaper clippings. Daniel's heart skipped a beat as he recognized the first one, a small article about a science fair he had won. He had never even told his father about it. Yet here it was, carefully cut out and pasted onto the page.
I turned the page. Another clipping. This one from a local paper in the city where I first worked, announcing my promotion. Every achievement, every small success was documented here.
His father had been following his life silently from a distance. This scrapbook was the proof. It was the "I love you" that was never spoken. Each clipping was a testament to a father's quiet, unwavering attention.
I had felt so alone, so unseen, but I'd been watched over the entire time.
The silence had not been empty. It had been filled with a father's hidden pride. The discoveries did not end with the scrapbook. In the bottom of the same box, Daniel found a stack of letters addressed to him, in his father's clumsy, blocky handwriting. But they had never been sent.
I opened the first one, dated from my first year of college. It was short, just a few sentences.
Hope you are doing well. Work hard. Your mother would be proud of you.
I opened another and another. They were all similar, short, awkward, and full of a sentiment that was clearly difficult for my father to express.
One letter, written after Daniel's wedding, was particularly poignant.
She seems like a good woman. You look happy. I hope you will be. I'm not good at these things, but I am happy for you.
Each letter was a failed attempt at connection, a bridge that was built but never crossed. Perhaps he felt they were inadequate. Perhaps he wrote them and then lost his nerve.
These unsent letters were more powerful than any spoken word. They were the raw, unedited truth of my father's heart. They were a confession of his struggle, his loneliness, and his deep, abiding love for his son.
Daniel had spent a lifetime feeling like his father didn't care enough to reach out. The truth was, he cared so much that he was terrified of doing it wrong. He had tried in his own quiet, fumbling way. He had tried, and that was everything. The next morning, Daniel drove to the cemetery, carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers. He walked past rows of stone markers until he found the one he was looking for. A simple granite headstone. His mother's name was on one side, his father's on the other. He knelt down and placed the flowers between their names. For a long time, he just stayed there, the cool morning air on his face. He was not filled with anger or resentment. He felt a sense of peace, a quiet understanding.
I got your letters, Dad, and Mom's. I understand now. I'm sorry I didn't see it. I'm sorry I let the silence win.
The words came easily, without bitterness. He was not asking for an apology, he was offering one. He was forgiving his father not for his silence but for his inability to break it. And in doing so, he was forgiving himself for his own anger.
I stayed there for what felt like hours, telling my father about my life, my work, my family. I was having the conversation we should have had years ago. It was one-sided, but it didn't feel that way. I could almost hear his quiet presence, listening.
The healing had begun. The love was not lost, just delayed. Love is a strange and resilient thing. It can be hidden behind a wall of silence, buried under years of misunderstanding, and yet, it endures. It waits patiently in dusty attics, in sealed envelopes, in scrapbooks filled with forgotten triumphs. Daniel learned that some words, even if they take 30 years to arrive, have the power to heal the deepest wounds. His mother's letter was a key, unlocking a door he never knew was there.
The journey home from the cemetery was different. The world seemed brighter, the colors more vivid. I was not just a man who had lost his parents. I was a son who had found them again. I carried their love with me now, not as a burden of what was lost, but as a gift of what had been found. The silence in my heart had been filled with the echo of their voices, a gentle reminder that I was, and always had been, deeply loved.
We all have letters we mean to send, conversations we mean to have. We wait for the right moment, for the perfect words, and in our waiting, the silence grows. We build walls between ourselves and the people we love, brick by brick, with unspoken feelings and missed opportunities. We tell ourselves there will be time, tomorrow, next week. But sometimes tomorrow is too late. The story of Daniel and his father is a quiet plea to all of us. Do not wait. Pick up the phone, write the letter, cross the room. The people we love are waiting to hear from us, even if they don't know how to say so. Because love, even when it arrives late, is a miracle. But it is a far greater miracle to give it and receive it while there is still time.